Hello and welcome. My name is Girish Sharma, and in today's Azure session, I'm here to talk about immutability within Azure Recovery Vault and how it should be part of your data governance and data management. Now, if I ask you a simple question, what is the biggest asset any organization has? The chances are they're going to say it's their data. Now, this data can be in any shape and form. It can be the data generated by their application, or it can be as simple as the data of their users. Now, these can be both internal as well as external users. What happens if some bad actor tries to tamper with this data? They hold this data against you for some sort of ransom. We always hear in the news that a company X was hacked and they have to pay that much amount of ransom to recover their data. Why not you put these solutions in place before this kind of attack happens? And this is just not restricted to enterprise class customer. According to one survey, more and more SMB customers are being impacted with this kind of ransomware attack. That's where immutability can come. Now, just because immutability is one of the features within Recovery Service Vault, should be you should be enabling that. Let's try to understand first what impact it can have for your organization, and even before you apply, what are the things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to immutability perspective on your Recovery Service Vault. First of all, this is available for both RSV as well as Backup Vault. Now, if you want to know what is the difference between a recovery service vault and backup vault, I've created a detailed video which you can see in the Azure playlist. It can be applied in all Azure public regions as well as US Gov. Now, if you enable immutability, you will have some restricted operations. We'll talk about that in a moment. Now, immutability is applied at the vault level. It can be backup vault or recovery service vault. It means all the data or all the resources which are there part of immutability will be applied to it. And lastly, it's a reversible option. So it means that if you have enabled immutability on your vault, it can be reversed. However, if you lock it, it becomes irreversible. That's important component, right? So it is available for both recovery service vault and backup vault, public region as well as US curve. It has restricted operations. It is applied at the recovery service vault level, and it is a reversible option. You can disable that, but in case you lock it, that becomes irreversible. It means it is going to follow the data retention policy, and for how long that data is supposed to be there, you cannot delete that data. Now, when it comes to restricted operations, let's look into a bit detail. Now, as I said that this vault or immutability will be applied at the recovery service vault level. It means in your backup policy, if you have configured retention, you cannot decrease that retention. You cannot decrease it. You can always increase the retention. That's an important point. Secondly, you cannot delete the data before that retention period is over. That is not available in immutable recovery service vault. However, you can remove that protected instance from protection. Let's say if I have a machine, an Azure virtual machine, which I'm protecting it, and that recovery service vault is immutable. I cannot delete the data as per the retention policy, but I can remove that particular machine from the protection. Now, these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to immutability and recovery service vault. Now, let's look at the experience on the Azure portal site. Creating a recovery service vault is just a couple of steps. If you go and click on the create button, you just need to follow some basic information like resource group, vault name, region, what redundancy you want, how you want to encrypt the data. Now, when it comes to vault properties, you can enable, you can check the box here. Now, that will become immutable. Now, for some reason, if you have not enabled immutability at this stage, you can always do it later on, but you can just follow the prompts and fill up this information to create your recovery service vault. Now, for this demonstration, I already have one with the name demo RSV. And if I go into settings and go to the properties, you can see immutability vault is not enabled. I can go to the settings and click on enable vault and click on apply button. So the immutability was enabled, as you can see, right? But just remember, I can still disable this immutability by unchecking the box. Remember, I talked about the lock. Now, this is a reversible process, but if I go and click on this and check this box, now this cannot be, or this becomes irreversible process. So you got to be mindful what is the organization policy and how you want the data to be managed. So there needs to be proper discussion at the compliance team level, data management level, how long you want to keep the data, and do you want to keep it in immutable recovery service vault, right? So for this demonstration, I'm not locking it, right? But I've enabled the immutability. Now let me show you how the flow going to be when it comes to creating a backup policy. Now, as you know that within Azure, you can create a standard backup policy or you can create an enhanced policy. Let me just click on the add button. Let's say if I want to protect some machines. Obviously, standard policy allows me to back up only once a day, but if I want multiple backups during the day, which is every 4 hours, I can create a enhanced policy. Let me just pick standard policy, give it a name, and I'll take all the default. I'll keep the instant restore snapshots for 2 days. My retention range is going to be for 180 days. Let's take all the default and let's click on the create button. Just remember, my recovery service vault is immutable. My idea I want to show you is after you have enabled the immutability, how, what kind of impact it will have on the backup policy if I want to tweak it. Let me go to manage and under backup policy. This is the one we just created. Now remember, I told you you cannot decrease the retention. So remember, it is 180 days in my case. Can I do and change it for 179 days? I get the error because this is an immutable vault. I cannot do it. Can I make it 181 days? Yes, I should be able to do. So there should be important discussion within the organization how you want to manage the data because as I said, once it becomes immutable, you cannot decrease the retention as part of the policy, though you can remove your protected instance, like in this case, virtual machine, uh, from the protection, but you cannot delete the data till this retention period is over. That's important component over here. And as I said, in case you lock it, in my case, I've not locked the recovery service vault. That becomes an irreversible process. Now, sometimes there is also a question that can be asked: what happens in case I want to cancel the subscription? Now, remember, when it comes to subscription, subscription is a billing entity from Microsoft. Now, let's say if I have a subscription, and in that subscription, I have recovery service vault, which is immutable. And because of some reason, I want to cancel the subscription. So, as you know, that you can go and cancel the subscription. Microsoft is going to keep the data 30 to 90 days for you. You're not going to get billed during this particular phase, but after this, the data will be deleted, even though it's in the immutable, because you're going and not removing the specific resources, you are canceling the subscription. So remember, subscription is a billing entity, whether it's pay as you go, CSP, there are different forms of subscription. And underneath, you create resources. So yes, you can go and cancel the subscription. As I mentioned, Microsoft going to keep the data in case for some reason we also see in a scenario in which the company wants to re-enable the subscription. That's the reason Microsoft keeps the data for that duration. But once that subscription is canceled and it passes this date, the data underneath will be removed and you won't be able to recover. That's a normal scenario. But this gives you an idea about the immutability and some of the options when it comes to restricted operations within your vault and the protected instance. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.